Do you want to learn how to leverage the City of Cincinnati tax abatement to save thousands and thousands of dollars? I'm Mike Hines from the Euler Hines Group of Coldwell Banker, and I have a special guest today, Paul Yankee from Green Building Consulting. We're going to go into all the intricacies of the City of Cincinnati tax abatement, what it takes to get the tax abatement, and of course, what other areas have it here throughout Cincinnati. Take a listen and you're going to be an expert, I promise, by the time this video is over. Let's get started. All right, everybody, so I'm lucky enough to be here with Paul Yankee, so settle on in. We're gonna hear all about the tax abatement, building green, understanding how you can, just HERS ratings, pretty much every detail, the City of Cincinnati and other tax abatements. But really, most importantly, I wanna introduce you to Paul Yankee. He's the president of Green Building Consulting and HVAC Design Partners. So I'm excited to see you here, so thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks, Mike, appreciate it.
No problem. We're gonna do things a little differently today. You've done plenty of videos with us.
Yeah.
We're gonna really dive in deep. So this may be a little bit longer of a video, but the goal is really to give our audience just an understanding of kind of what we have. But we're going to talk about rehabbing homes. We're going to talk about building homes. We're going to talk about the process itself. So if you're okay with it, why don't you introduce who you are and kind of what you do?
I get to basically direct a great group of individuals that basically get to make buildings better. So our jobs are go into any kind of either construction of a new home or rehab of a home and find the way to make them perform better.
Yes.
So when I like high performance, who doesn't? And
sounds pretty attractive when you say high performance home.
That's right. Yeah. Green is a good coverall, but really it comes down to performance of homes. And our job is to do the testing, the verification, and even design review and consulting to be able to get people from a goal of building their code-built home or just getting something done to getting it done well, healthier, more energy efficient, more water efficient, all that.
Optimized, almost like you're optimizing every facet of a home almost a little
Absolutely.
bit. You guys, you've been around this for a long time. How long have you been doing this?
The official part, 21 years now.
21 years.
And I guess when I was cheap labor, right, and as a kid, I was doing more of this than I thought on construction sites. But
you didn't realize,
now I actually make money for it.
Yeah. Well, we've had tons of interesting conversations over this few years, and we want to bring the audience in just to really explain how they can not just save money, because you're saving the environment in many ways, even though that may be a little cliche to say. You're saving energy. You're saving money using the tax abatement. But let's talk real quick, high level, because I don't think, you may hear it, it's obviously thrown out there quite often, but what is a tax abatement? And we'll drill into the City of Cincinnati and Blue Ash and those areas, but what does a tax abatement mean when it comes down to specifically the LEED, or I should say green building in general?
Well, tax abatements have been around forever. And what this is, it's a property tax abatement is what we're talking about. It's an incentive tool that municipalities are going to use. Technically, the law was, I think, written in 1974. It was a federal law. The CRA, the Community Reinvestment Area Act, not the Community Reinvestment Act.
I've been responsible for that.
Right. That's an interesting. That's a banking act. They happen to be both done the same year. That act actually allows, if the state enacts it, which Ohio did, then any local community can go ahead and take that and then develop a way to basically abate. That means take your property taxes that you would owe for those improvements, if it's a rehab or if it's new construction on that built of the building, and hold those off for some period of time. So it could be 5 years, 10 years, 15. And little communities all over Ohio have done this for decades. The big thing that changed about 12 years ago, 2 crazy cities decided we're going to put green building, right, sustainable building in as a trigger to give a little turbo boost to that incentive. And that was Cleveland and Cincinnati. Who knew?
2 of the greatest cities in the world.
Right. And we decided to do it, and it was an experiment. They wanted people to move back in the city, right? And they'd already had this abatement going for about 10 years before that, and it was working. So I said, why not? We'll give a little bit more. So it's adjusted a couple times. Right over the years, but it's designed for giving you a number of years with certain dollar amounts for investment, everything else to help you with that extra investment you may make to make the buildings better, which quite frankly is it's a triple win. So it ends up winning for the homeowner who wants these things, but maybe it wasn't the top of their list. But I'll get those later. I'll put that money in later. Well, now they can do it up front on the first job. The city wins because they end up getting homeowners that actually have a more cost-effective home to operate every year.
Sure. And it attracts them back in.
Traps them back in. It's healthier housing,
Yes.
right? That's great constituent. We're happier when we're healthier, right?
Absolutely,
So that's
yes.
good. We probably vote for the right people at that point,
This
right?
is true. Yeah, yeah. With everything going on in the world today, it's extra important too.
It should be.
Yes.
And it even reduces cost for the city and things like the sewer, because we'll talk about that, all the parts, but there's pieces that actually are direct costs to the city that go our taxes.
Yes.
So it sounds like they're giving away money. They're actually getting a return on it. It's one of their better investments they make.
I think that's the unique part, and I know we'll drill into that, is just like the city, one government entity has levers they can use, right? And this is just a lever they're using to pull people back in for those incentives, to obviously bring more money back into the city, to spend more money in the city, attract more people. And it's easy to look at it now in 2000, we're obviously 2022 just starting, but when you look at 10, 12 years ago with what was happening around the city in the different neighborhoods, it's dramatically different. So obviously it's, for lack of a better way to put this, it's worked, and it continues to evolve, which is pretty cool how that works. So let's real quick, like just to make sure everybody understands how it works. So tax abatement. Let's say I'm going to buy. We're going to use rehab because you made a great point before this when we were just talking about what to talk about. Is rehab's a lot more common out there than maybe building homes because of price points and affordable housing and that sort of thing. So let's say I want to go. I see a great $100,000 piece of property that's in Walnut Hills. I want to buy that. It needs some work though. So I decide, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and invest in this property and buy it for $100,000, and it needs an extra $100,000 to go into it. Explain how the tax abatement would work in that case, regardless of, let's just keep it as simple as possible, just so then everyone understands that.
No worries. So the way that works is the $100,000 that you pay, right, for that property, it's going to include the building and it's going to include the land. That has taxes on it at that time, and you're paying the taxes on. There might have been, maybe it was worth a little less according to the county or not, but now you bought it for $100,000, so you're going to be paying your property taxes on that $100,000. But you decide to put some money in it. Now, one of the first things the city, by the way, benefits here, which is kind of nice, is if you would have had your Uncle Joe come over and maybe do a little work with no permit or whatever, right? The county wouldn't have known what work you were doing, and you were hoping that you didn't have to pay for the permit or worry about your taxes raising.
And Uncle Joe may not have been overly qualified.
Yeah, let's be clear. That little fire that happened in the kitchen,
I mean, Joe's great. Don't get me wrong. I've heard good things.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is good to be able to get good, safe, permitted work. But also then they're gonna know about it, so that what happens is eventually it goes on the tax rolls, and the house is appropriately priced, right, and valued. In the meantime, this tax abatement goes into place for you, so it holds you at that $100,000. So let's say you put $50,000 into the house. Standard tax abatement for the city is 10 years, and it gives you up to $200,000, I think right now. And that $200,000 of improved value
above and beyond that first $100,000 that you
above the
invested.
100. Yeah. So if you put in 50, you're great. You're under that 200. All of that 50 will not add to your property tax bill. You still pay just like it was worth 100.
So if we're looking at, sorry to cut you off on that. So if we're looking at City of Cincinnati, this is round numbers, 2.5% taxes. I know it's a little,
that's the right number,
right there. So you're looking at $2,500 a year on the $100,000 investment.
You're going to pay that anyway. That's right.
And then if you put $50,000, let's just make it easy and say you're putting $100,000 in it. You would have theoretically, when they reassessed you, would have been at $2,500 additionally.
That's
so
right.
now you're still, instead of paying $5,000, which is both tax rates together, or the tax addition, you're still only paying $2,500 for 10 years.
For 10 years.
So that's so your property tax is abated down that low or lessened to some degree. But it's and it's elevating, obviously, your value and whatnot is still raising based on that, but you're just not responsible for
that's
those
exactly right. And you'll show that value change, but you're not hitting that number, and that's going to be up to those caps.
Yes.
So where you really gets interesting, right? Yeah. Is when you put a little more in or do a little bit extra, and that's where I think we got. I know I've given you these before, and I feel I got to write most of these, but
what Paul's showing us right now is great because we're gonna leave this. You're gonna be able to download this at the end of the video. It's kind of like a little cheat sheet to how the tax abatement works. It's the best document I've seen that explains everything, and I know you put it together.
Well, I made the colors, right? It was good. I made it.
Well, that's what was most important. Let's be honest. Yeah.
Right. No, this is there's a lot. What I love about the tax abatement is that it really is built for everybody and for all the different ways that you want to invest into your homes and put things in. But it is also complex. So trying to make it simple is, in the rehab world, think it's 10 years.
10 years.
And we've had that. So you can do anything, any permitted work you do on your house. You've already got a 10-year abatement up to, again, $200,000.
Standard abatement.
Right.
Just yeah.
Now, I tricked you a little bit because that was 10 years. That was as of December 31st.
7 days ago.
That's
Not
right.
to date this video.
It's all new now, so brand new. We got new rules, and one of the biggest benefits that came out of this, and we fought for this for a number of years, was to try to make rehabs even more incentivized, even than new construction. A lot of the communities really pushed for that.
Yes.
A lot of existing people wanted to put more money in their house, and they wanted to keep a lot of neighborhood fabric, right?
Yes, yes.
So it went to 12 years now. Okay. All right. So standard tax abatement, $200,000, and you get 12 years. So they added 2 years just for the any work that you do is permitted work.
Incredible. It's
okay.
Yeah.
But let's say you're going to go a little deeper, and you're going to start doing some things that's going to hit energy efficiency at least. There's a HERS qualified tax abatement, and the HERS index. We have way too many acronyms in our setup. It's crazy.
I barely know what HERS is. I mean, I do HERS and Energy Star and all these things.
I should do a quiz. I should do a quiz on you later.
Into this video.
We're going to do that. If you get above 40%, you're good. HERS is the Home Energy Rating System.
Okay.
All right, by ResNet, another one, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Which was actually developed by the mortgage industry to be able to give a true asset rating on the energy efficiency of a house-to-house-to-house comparison.
Okay. Okay.
So it's an asset rating that appraisers use all the time. That's actually their most favorite one because it gives all these gritty details that they can't get through an inspection. It's what's in the walls and how great the house is built. So that HERS rating is truly they do a little thermometer. It's a number, and it's truly comparable. So no matter how you use the home, right? If you're a house of 16 kids and 4 hot tubs and 27 TVs, or empty nester, you use the home different and your energy bill's different. That's why when you go to buy a house, you're like, let me see your Duke bill.
Yes.
It's only useful if you actually know how they used it and what's going on in the house.
Again, leveling the playing field, standardizing it to some degree. Yes.
This HERS index says this house is this efficient, this house is this efficient with all the parts.
Okay. Okay.
So great number to have. It is the basis of all these things, but in this particular one, it's just HERS. So what we do is to get this abatement to go now, instead of $200,000 in 12 years, it's going to add $100,000 more cap.
Okay.
So it goes up to $300,000 renovations. That can really get some deep renovations.
Yes.
And it's going to take it up to 15 years now.
Wow. So you're jumping up.
And it's simple. A HERS rating is saying, what is this building's energy efficiency, right, as a whole? So you take that rating first. You take an inspection, what we do. We go out, do a full inspection of the house, everything that's in it, including diagnostic testing, like the blower door testing and duct testing. Get a baseline. We're going to have a number. The crazy number I had on my house down in Over the Rhine that I had years ago that was just done and prettied up, by the way. It was renovated. It looked gorgeous. When I bought it, was a HERS 204.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Code of a new construction house right now is about a HERS 80.
Wow.
To give you an idea.
Yeah.
And higher numbers are bad.
I was going to say, let's make sure we say that. Yeah.
Good.
That'll be at the quiz at the end.
Yeah. So a 0 means no zero, net zero, or no purchased energy by the end of a given year.
Yeah.
So you want lower scores, like golf.
Yes.
So you're looking for something, you want to try to get something in that 100 or below. This thing was a 200. I could see out the sides of the house, and this thing had just got done, by the way.
Yeah. What the heck did you do? I was kidding.
So I did a bunch after it. But once it was there, so that 200, I got to know that. Now, then you do your improvements. So you go in, you get some insulation in, you do new windows, you do new appliances.
All the stuff that's going to make dramatic impacts,
Impacts.
or small impacts, but it all adds
Either
up.
one.
Yes.
In this particular case, if you drop it enough, and there's a tier that you've got to hit to, and you test in this next one, and now instead of the 200, it's now a 70, right? Which is actually very common to do. Then you can go ahead and get that extra 100,000 bump and those extra 3 years.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's just energy to energy. We're just trying to make something more energy efficient when you're already going to be pulling permits.
Yeah.
Right.
Might as well.
It's, hey, I'm going to do this kitchen. Well, while I'm doing it, how's the furnace doing? And I was almost looking at solar at one point, or maybe I just need, this is window time too.
So this is just an added little component that you can do, and then you get those 3 extra years and it increases the abated amount, correct?
That's right.
Yes. So it's called the HERS rating.
It's called HERS qualified is what they say.
HERS qualified.
But
So
you're
we're
getting
at
a
standard,
HERS rating.
then HERS qualified.
That's right.
What's the next? Because I know there's other things as well. We're just, by the way, we're just talking about rehabbed homes right now.
Just
we haven't
rehabbed.
got into new construction.
See, and that's where the fun part. So now you're going to go to rehabs and you're going to go to LEED. All right. So the LEED rating system.
Yes.
We talked about energy efficiency. That's easy, right?
Yep.
I see my Duke bill. I know what I pay. It'd be great to be lower.
Yes.
The LEED rating system is the full green package.
Okay.
Now we're going to talk about water efficiency, like that bill to be lower. That keeps going up. Indoor air quality, always important, but oddly enough, the last 2 years, people have really been looking at indoor air quality.
It's incredible, yeah, where it's gone.
And going to look at durability. What kind of, how great is the air seals of the house and the water seals, the flashings around windows, all those kind of things.
Sure.
Even the products and their durability, the life cycle. Are you going to be replacing this stuff 6 years in?
Yep.
You'd be surprised how much that does happen.
I believe that. I think we're finding that out the hard way on a lot of equipment nowadays.
Scary.
Yes.
Right.
Let me ask a quick question.
Yeah, go
LEED.
ahead.
What does LEED stand for? I mean, I just want to
there
make
you
sure
go.
that you say, because it's
Are you testing me? Is that what it is?
kind of, yeah.
All right,
At the end,
I
I'm not
appreciate
going to lie. We're going to do it like we're going to take the top 5 and we're going to hammer these out again, just so I can refresh my memory. Yeah.
Leadership in energy and environmental design.
LEED, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Not leads, by the way. That's said all the
Yes.
time.
Yes. By the way, I want to throw this out there,
Yeah,
just
do
not
it.
to confuse somebody. There's something else besides LEED. So LEED is based on USGBC, right?
The U.S. Green Building Council. That's right.
Correct. And
Another
then,
acronym.
Yes, another
Acronym.
it gets exhausting. There's obviously other green building, what would you call it, metrics,
Programs
groups, that
and
sort of thing like
absolutely,
that. Are there any others to throw out there? Because I'm sure, and I know in Cincinnati, Ohio, there's obviously LEED is what's most important here, but other areas, West Coast, I know, is there one called Solo, or there's another one that's called out there, and I probably shouldn't have just thrown this to you for the loop.
You had to give another one. No.
Yeah.
These are, what you'll see is 2 forms. There's energy only.
Yep.
So you even have energy codes. If you build the new construction now, Ohio has an energy code minimum. We didn't have one about 7 years ago.
It's just baked in now the code now.
So you have this energy minimum, which is nice, right? That's the base. Then usually you'll see a HERS index somewhere in there. But then there's Energy Star.
Energy Star.
It's one of my favorites.
Yep.
It's the Department of Energy's Zero Energy Ready Home.
Okay, that's yes. Okay.
Which I call Energy Star Plus. And then you'll start to get into the kind of more fun ones. Our Ferrari is Passive House.
Passive House.
Which we only have 1 here in Cincinnati, but we're about to have 2 or more coming here shortly.
Pretty incredible house. I got to take a look at that one time. Yeah,
they're pretty amazing. Yeah. You can heat the home with a hairdryer, right? And it's a Yeti cooler basically. You're not going to lose.
My
anything.
wife has one of those Dysons, so that probably heat the house.
Oh, you're
really
fine.
fast, right?
Yeah, you're good. You run around the house a couple times. The body heat will do it. So that energy world, those are ones you'd look at. And then on the green side, probably the big ones you see are LEED is the big brand name. It's been out about 20 some odd years. There's another one called National Green Building Standard by the Home Innovation Research Lab. They're pretty popular in some areas. Yeah. LEED has dominated our particular area, which is pretty amazing.
And you have to attach it to something because it's kind of a qualifying group, right? That sets the criteria, helps evolve the guidelines and that sort of thing. So I didn't mean to digress,
But I will say one other thing. If you end up looking at this tax abatement, there's one other program on here called Living Building Challenge, which you won't have seen one. It is truly a challenge. It is our Ferrari, if you will, on the pure green side. And right now we've got 1 or 2 homes that are attempting it. So it's above LEED.
Okay.
And it also gets qualified for the tax abatement. But it's very aspirational. It's net zero energy, net zero water.
Yes. Why don't we end with that? Because that could be pretty cool to go into some of those details.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah, because maybe that for the people that hang out with us for 20, 30, 40 minutes.
Right.
They can
geek out on it.
Really
I love
like
it.
that stuff. So, all right. So we have obviously HERS. We're into LEED right now.
That's right.
LEED has different levels that go into there. That's right. How does that work on the rehab side?
So what LEED does, to be real simple, there's a number of prerequisite credits to get any LEED house. So if you go and you're looking at a house and it has in the listing that it's a LEED certified house, it's great.
Yes.
You know for sure, right, that one of us crazy people went out there and a third party, it wasn't the builder, it wasn't the architect.
And that's your company.
That's right.
Third-party company that comes over there. If that wasn't, unless you deal, honestly, Paul, unless we actually deal with you directly, your job is very confusing. Like to a lot of people.
Hope so.
But exactly, it's good job security because you are very technical, and I can't speak to anybody, any other career out there that gets into the weeds as much as you do. Because building a house is complex, and what you do is essentially you go into the weeds and you review to make sure you're objectively assessing the correct points or credits to get to certain LEED standards, and also giving insight, consulting, all sorts of things. So I want to make sure people
Our
understand
hardest job is is then to translate all that crazy, wonky stuff, right, to something deliverable to my builder, to my architect, to the whole team.
the client, right?
Yeah, and then the homeowner when he gets what he got.
Yes.
So no, it's what we try to do is when we're looking at LEED itself and then what the program is, it's going to have these prerequisites that you have to hit.
Yes.
So at any point in time, any LEED house has those at a minimum. You have to have a minimum air quality, right? That's good. You have to have a minimum energy efficiency. Yeah. Once you have those, then it's points. Choose your own adventure, okay? You can pick the points that make sense for you. If you're the builder, developer, then you can make those decisions on what makes sense for your brand and what you want to deliver to your clients.
What's important.
You're that homeowner and going to renovating, it's what matters to you.
Yes.
And our tagline is, what does green mean to you? Because it does mean something different, right, to everyone.
I almost hate the word green in so many ways because you can attach it to so many things that may not move the needle at all, but really like green truly is a great thing. It's just, what does it mean to you? How are you making the impact in that sort of thing? And I think we realize with building and reusing materials and just saving energy, it is so important. So I know I'm gonna sprinkle some thoughts like that in there just because it is really important on there. But so again, so you guys assess the points or you guys come up with a points strategy essentially, and then you guys tell the client how you can actually hit those metrics, hit those objectives and move forward. And that's how you get to the different where people hear
different levels.
Silver, gold, platinum, those sorts of things, which has also changed now in 2022 a little bit.
Yeah.
Not drastically, but
so to make it simple, we come up with that plan early to see where you want to land.
Yes.
And what we usually are going to end up doing, the way we like to do it, is work with that person in front of us, builder, right, or homeowner, and say, what was your goals coming into this? What did you want to go ahead and do? What would you have done if we didn't say one other different thing, right, about what LEED does? And then let's build out where you are. Then we basically do a delta assessment, right? We want to see what that change would be. Oh, well, I was kind of already there really on, on water efficiency and most of the energy stuff I want. I didn't realize I was going to do something out on the site. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So then you really start to know what that difference is, and it's super easy with a tax abatement because now we can do the math. How much benefit you'd get versus what that cost would be.
The true return on investment on that, because it is dramatic. Let's use another example just because I know, truthfully, people, they're spending money on homes and like that. So let's say I want to build a house I'm going to use an example of Oakley. I found a house that's $400,000 and I know it needs an extra $300,000 or $400,000 of work. And I really want to go LEED, so I know I want to do that. HERS rating, I don't know much about it, but let's say I know the house has potential. I'm going to invest $300,000 to $400,000. What strategies would you implement, and how would the numbers work out? And I know this is high level, so we're not going to get super granular, but throw that as an example out there.
So with what you're going to end up doing is you're going to be looking at the LEED process. The very first thing that we're going to look at is how that shell is set up, and trying to get it to those prerequisites, right? And so the major ones that we're really going to be paying attention to right off the bat is energy efficiency.
Okay.
And some of the basic indoor air quality, seeing how the shape of that building already is set up for you.
Yes.
And I think what usually comes out for renovation, if you're going to do a deep renovation like that, it's easy. It's when you start picking parts.
Yeah.
Right. And we all do it. I've done it on my houses many times where there's like, I don't want to touch that wall because that's a cool, wood wall.
Yeah.
And it can all be done.
Yeah.
But that's where the nuance gets in.
Yes.
You're going to insulate, right, all walls. You're going to have at least pretty decent windows. Do you have to do new windows? You don't. If there are decent ones in there, but they have to be decent enough. The building has to be nice and tight.
Yes.
Your mechanicals, probably going to be new, but we just had 2 or 3 in the last couple months where they were nice little houses built back in the 80s and just had a replacement, right, of mechanicals. There's no reason to replace those. Those are top notch.
Yeah.
But some of the other little things wasn't there, and they wanted to get really deep into it, and you're even adding a section to the house. So
they just add, you pick and choose. You kind of strategically look at the house, and let's say that house was $400,000, and $300,000, $400,000 when you add on. It depends on if you're adding structure, or if it's just interior,
it can
changes.
Be either way, depending nowadays too.
Would you, on a house like that, let's say if we look at our metrics, like what kind of, at $300,000, you're going to invest that amount into it. What strategy, assuming you can get any points you need to get for that, would that be something you'd say, hey, let's just go LEED and get something like that? Okay.
The magic number actually is 300. So that HERS qualified to get that, you're going to get those extra 3 years. You're getting your 15 years, and it goes up to $300,000, right?
Okay.
LEED is going to start giving dollar amounts above that. Now, 15 still that cap, but it's going to LEED Silver, which is that first real tier anyone's going to hit. That's going to take you up to 500.
Okay.
The reason that's important is because the day you invest $300,000, I hope, right? It's probably worth $1 more than that, I bet.
It better be. Yeah.
And you think it's going to be worth more than that for that 15-year period.
Of course.
And so the county's going to reassess you every 3 years, and they're going to try to keep moving you up based on what the market's telling you it's worth. That's where you get covered. So as soon as you get right around that $300,000 mark, you need to be thinking LEED. And quite frankly, the HERS piece of it is the harder piece.
Is it really?
Yeah, so right now the way it's built is that HERS piece, you have to meet the same minimum you do in LEED just on the energy.
Okay.
It's LEED now is going to add these other parts.
Okay. You're
right.
adding
Water, some of the indoor air quality, the site. But those aren't the hard ones in most cases.
Really? It's the other stuff that's going along this.
Yeah.
And how about the money saved? So now you're looking at, let's use that same 2.5% that you're saving. So $300,000, you're saving up to $7,500 on a yearly basis.
That's right. You're doing that yearly and multiply that by your 15 years. So what I'll say is this. So you go 300,000. Now I'm going to be a real clear one. Take a $400,000 one versus a $300,000 renovation. That 100. And in today's prices, when you bid it out at 300, it always comes to 400 later.
Yes,
right.
That's how it goes.
So that extra $100,000, has $2,500 in tax savings per year, every year. Plus, you put some extra things into your house, didn't you? Right. Guaranteed. You put extra items that help that thing perform better. So those are also savings now you're getting long term. And I like to bring this up. I'm a green realtor, although I don't compete against you guys, right? I just teach and everything else, right? But I work with the appraisers. I'm the recovering banker, I always like to say, right? I work, that's my passion, is to really help homeowners and get the value back out of that house.
Yes.
Right, you did all this work, and if the market, that next buyer, right, comes to buy this thing, they need to know what you put in it and not your impassioned plea of, right, I'm telling you how amazing it was.
Yes, exactly.
No, they need to be able to see that you did these things and that house is what it is. So what we do now is the appraisers are doing a really good job gleaning that information out and giving you that extra value. So everything you just put in extra also should come back, right,
on the appraisal side and the financing side.
It's a triple win that you're getting from a cash standpoint.
I don't think people realize that, the nuances that go on, because obviously the tax abatement side is fantastic. There's the value there, but then long-term effects of the house, energy, cost savings, there's all these different layers that go on that. Let's change gears for just one quick second, because I know just because we're talking about LEED specifically now, and I know there's the HERS rating, there's visibility, there's all kinds of little details in there. Let's talk about the change between 2000, going up to the end of 2021, and now going forward to 2022.
Sure.
Now let's talk at a high level, looking at this, what the difference are, because really it comes down to levels of amount that can be abated essentially for each one. So we're going to jump into new construction and pull that in as well. But let's finish up with rehabs. What levels can you save on rehabs? Let's just go through to 2022. Done. Where are we looking at? Standard going all the way up the leads. And if I know the cheat sheets right there, I would have to steal this and see how good you are.
I got them. I got them mostly. They're burned. I try to get them out sometimes, but they're in there.
They're in there. You're not going anywhere.
So so again, $200,000 is that max improvement value, right? Yes. You can get up to $200,000 covered and abated.
We're talking about above and beyond what the let's call it the basis, the basis of what you purchased a house for, having your house, that sort of thing, right?
That's exactly right. If you purchase for that amount, the whole thing, that's going to be your basis.
Yes.
Again, sometimes transfers, but whatever the county ends up laying down as your basis.
It could be, that's where we won't quote what that could be, because ultimately the county determines
they can move it, right?
They can, yes.
But usually it's going to be transaction value too, though, when you do transact. So $200,000 for just doing any work, up to 200, and for that 12 years now, right? Then you do the HERS, just the energy kind of add on there, and you improve it enough, then you can get to that 300,000.
300 total. Yep.
Going up now, it's going to juice up to 15 years. Yep. And then now where LEED comes in, if you hit LEED Silver certification, it's going to still be at that 15 years, but now go up to 500,000.
Wow. Okay.
LEED Gold. Nice little jump here. Goes up to 650,000.
Wow. Okay.
15 years. And LEED Platinum, That's our Cadillac right there. That's going to give you 800,000.
Wow, above and beyond.
Right, and 15 years. And then the 2 extra little add-ons, right?
Yeah, I like these. These are like icing on the cake.
They are,
yeah.
and I'll take credit for a part of it, but a couple of the key people that are working on the property tax working group for the city, actually really pushed hard for these 2. I was super stoked on these. The number one that starts in rehab only is historic.
Okay.
So we've got a nice extra for these amazing, right?
Historic homes.
Crazy home. I mean, imagine that one. You're like, man, I want to take on this crazy project of this beautiful Avondale, right? You know,
gorgeous
house,
homes,
right?
Exactly.
But think about all that work you've got to do, and now you might even have to maintain some historic, right, fabric to it.
Like that, yeah.
That can definitely add to the price quite a bit, and we want to maintain those as much as possible.
Sure.
So, city approved a $100,000 bonus for any
above and beyond. So
above and beyond any of those
plus
levels.
Historic, you're $900,000 now.
Or you did LEED Silver at 500, and you add this 100, it's 600 now. So, if the house is pre-1920,
yes,
that's it.
Yeah.
So very, very simple, and
it's just a year. So pre-1920 doesn't need a designation. Doesn't need pre-1920. You get that historic.
That's it. Right. Which again, in Cincinnati, there's a lot of that.
Tons of them. Yes.
So over the Rhine, thanks for that too, right?
Yes.
And I thought that was huge, and that really does add that little extra for that.
Great addition.
And then the other one is across the board. This is rehab and new, and I was also very, very proud of this. And I'll give credit to Kevin Flynn. He was actually the one that put it in place a few years ago. This change makes it way more usable. That's the visitability standard. This is aging in place, right? Yeah. Very popular. We all know, like we're making big investments in our houses, and they're dragging me out of there in a box in mine. So
we're getting low interest rates now.
Right, low rates. We can't leave, right? So as I get older and my kids are gonna have to wheel me around, right? How am I gonna get up and into that house? How is it gonna really work for me and my mobility in the house? And we'll hear ADA, American Disabilities Act. That's something we see in commercial buildings and things like that, but you don't see it, right, in single family unless someone really planned for it. We really wanted to get new construction to really, turbo this and start putting it in. But in rehab's even harder, isn't it? So all it is, very simple, is if you can get a couple key things, and the city has on their application, has little pictures of how to do it. You need a 0-step entrance. One of the major entrances has to be 36 inches wide. You got to be able to get to a gathering area. Got to have access in a bathroom enough for very reasonable items, but you'd be amazed, how many homes, even new construction, that don't have one or two of those things, which really does make the house
And you told me one piece of advice when we first started talking about this, because this goes back to a year and a half ago when we were trying to make these changes. It can only really be done at the design stage. You have to think this early. So whether you're going to, we're right near Mike Wentz's office right now, a designer here in Cincinnati, like you're an architect, you go to these architects, Studer, any of these great architects, just sit down and mention you want to do it. And if it can be done, they can add it in there. There's so many great ones out there. So.
That's my favorite part, right? Is that because I was going to be like an analyst in stock, I like to think about, what's coming.
Projections.
I tell these builders things, or, the design world, I'll say, hey, here's what's coming. And they think I'm crazy. I said, you watch, in about 2 years, every new construction house, or probably 80-90%, is going to find a way to put visitability, aging in place standards into these things. Like, oh, you're crazy.
Yes, yeah.
But I knew this is what we're going to push for. And it's a big deal. Adding that extra 100,000 in today's world matters a lot, and we know the consumers want this. We all would love it. We just didn't know what it cost or what it should cost, but now it's going to be inside the design standard.
It's crazy, isn't it, how that works? It's just you see these things coming. They're coming from a mile away, but at the same time, it just takes the forethought to understand. And also, you've been a part of the design of these. This policy, because essentially it's a type of policy in a way. So, all right. So now we've talked a lot about rehab. So the reason we want to talk rehab, you made a great point. It's a much broader opportunity to a lot of people. New construction is just tough to come by in the city of Cincinnati and other areas. Let's just take a couple minutes and just hit on new construction, because basically it takes everything you just said, but it kind of there's only certain avenues you can go, and and really new construction's changed quite dramatically, especially when you look at platinum from 2021 to the start of 2022. Let's talk about the key changes, and let's talk about the different levels real quick. We'll just hammer through those on it, if you don't mind.
And again, new construction, simple. There is an abatement, right, for non-LEED certified. And we did get that changed a little bit, so that's down to 200,000.
From 275, right?
It was 275, went down to 2, and a reason for that is we wanted to make sure that in some of there was very few that weren't going LEED.
Yeah.
Let's be clear.
Yes.
But that analysis actually, I ended up doing that with a couple council members and their staff. We did the analysis of the few kind of new construction that were out there that weren't going LEED.
Yes.
And most of them were in some lower income neighborhoods where really could have benefited from the lower energy bills and lower.
Sure.
And so we wanted to make sure that that wasn't a burden, right? If there was additional cost, that could be incentivized. Yeah. And that's that sweet spot actually is between about 200 to 300 is those kind of first time homes right now.
And it's and again, equal opportunity, trying to make sure you're spreading that out so that is understood and it's aware, people are aware of it, and that you can add that in there.
A lot of communication. So thank you for stuff like this.
No, of course, thank you. Yeah.
But 200,000, right, for 10 years. Then LEED Silver.
Yes.
Same as it was before, 400,000 for 15 years, right? So as soon as you go to LEED, it goes to 415. And I'm going to say this, but keep in mind what has happened to the market, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The price of $400,000 home 4 or 5 years ago when this thing was put out in the first place to now is not the same. So keep in mind that really, as inflation-wise, actually almost dropped in a way.
Yes, yeah.
But it's that same price. Gold is 500,000.
From 562 to 500.
Yep, and platinum is 650,000.
Which was unlimited. So that's probably the most dramatic, because that's where people were really truly taking advantage of.
It was.
Sometimes $2, $3, $4 million
absolutely
abated in there. Now, and also just to make sure you guys understand, so before we were talking about the house being the basis in there, now we're talking about it could be a tear down being your basis, or it could be just a vacant piece of land that you're starting from. So your basis is now the land, but it could include the house because you're tearing it down.
That's
essentially, it's a little bit. Obviously, I'm not an attorney and I'm not an expert on this. I know you are a little more of an expert, but don't just take our word for it on these stuff. You know it pretty well. But when you look at this, make sure you're looking at each on its individual basis and not just generalized. But when it comes down to it, you're talking about what you're starting with before what you're adding.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, I'll give a little advice on that.
Yes.
So if you're a homeowner going out looking, you want to build in the city of Cincinnati, you find a lot or you find a house that might be available for tear down, right? Couple things have happened. One, first of all, check your community, talk to your community, right, about teardowns. Please communicate. That's a big, big deal in the communities nowadays, right?
Yes.
Because people, hey, neighbors, we want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And so that's a good thing. But I will say when you do that, if there's a house on it and there's land, you bought it for $250,000. The way it's supposed to work is that should be locked in at $250,000. So when you tear that down, even though the land said on the website it was worth $100,000.
I'm glad you're saying this. Yes.
Right? It should not normally go here. Now, there's a lot of things that have happened, and some of the enforcement hasn't been exactly what it was. But if you talk to the county, I know their intent is to have it. So I like to be conservative.
Higher number, yes, where you're buying it.
And just give the advice to assume that it's going to stay at that $250,000. There's some scenarios where that changes in zoning and stuff, but in general, think that.
So that's just worst case scenario. You're buying into that. So like I go find a house over in the north side, and it costs $110,000, and I'm going to tear it down to build something new.
Yeah.
Just because the land basis was at $25,000 in the house, so that does not mean you're starting at $25,000. You're still start at that higher number.
That's
worst case.
You
know where you are, and plus it's the idea behind it, right? It's not,
it is.
So no tax basis goes down. It
That's
only
right.
gets elevated over the course of time.
And I'll bring that up because I'm the one that gets to be in those really good community discussions about, is this a good thing? Should we be incentivizing this? And in certain spots where? That was one of the biggest items that came up of, hey, I wonder but is that equitable? Yeah. If they're giving away money.
Yes.
You should never, ever, the tax abatement is only giving a break to new money invested over top. So there should never be a drop, right, in the income that the county is receiving that's paying our stuff.
Exactly. It's only to elevate over the course of time.
Elevate for a temporary period of time.
And elevate it, yes.
100%.
So, okay, so that's new construction. And then visibility obviously still plays a role in there.
Same thing, 100,000 on any one of those levels.
Yes.
And that's whether it's LEED or not.
Yes.
So I want to make sure that's clear. You can add that extra 100,000. So if you can get that in your design, please do.
So, okay, as we finish up, I want to build a house or I want to renovate a house. What kind of advice would you give me real quick, just getting started? Not knowing anything about it, what do I do? Who do I contact? Who do I reach out to? What do I do?
Wow, we'd give them a great list of builders, wouldn't we? For new construction, right? And contractors. Yeah. Honestly, my biggest advice does this. Look at your budget and try to have your budget, right, kind of ahead of time. You don't go in and buy a car and then say, I'm kind of unlimited budget, right? And then let them sell you.
Whatever, yeah.
But you've got your budget. Knowing that, I'll say, knowing this list, and you can go to the city's website and get this list, right?
And we'll have it after the video, of course.
That's right.
Make it easy on everybody.
You look, and wherever that kind of tier is, that's where you want to kind of think that you probably want to go. Meaning, if you're going to build a $400,000 or $500,000 house, you're going to probably be looking at LEED. If you're going to do a $400,000 renovation, you're going to be looking at LEED. You know, 300, 250, you might be on a renovation. You might look at HERS. So when you start looking and knowing that, then I'm going to tell you to look for experience.
Yes.
This is when you're going to call someone. A lot of times, I'm going to tell you that if you go out shopping, you're shopping for your builders, you're shopping for your contractors, whether that's your GC, your foreman that's going to do your work for your rehab, or it's the HVAC guy, right, that's coming out, ask them, what's your LEED experience?
I guess.
Look, we've taught them all, right? So we literally have taught
almost
everyone. And I can tell you, I love them all. I love all my guys and girls, but there's a learning process. For most of the world, especially in the Midwest, this is not the way they built right off the bat. They built a lot of these things. They're sometimes surprised how many things. They're like, oh, that's called high performance? Yeah, you've been doing great. But then there's some things, I didn't know that. I didn't know we could do that. So they're learning.
Yes.
Don't let them learn on your dime and charge that LEED premium sometimes. I say, like, there's no extra cost for that. That just has to do something different, right?
I love the comment because most of our builders build LEED out of the get. I mean, like
really
some level of LEED right out of the bat. You know, obviously there's some that obviously for price points they try to go down, but most of the time it's not necessarily a premium, other than they know that obviously LEED gets you a property can be marketed a little bit higher, that sort of thing. There's value because it's elevating not only their project, the community. There can be all kinds of things going with it.
That's right.
But I like you kind of hit the nail on the head right with that statement about advice. Like go to an advisor that can help you. Whether it's a great builder, it's GBC, your company, obviously in that front. Whether it's an agent that knows what the heck they're talking about with that kind of stuff.
You know, that's a big one for me.
Key. Yeah, making sure they know. Just look for a good advisor and don't try to know it yourself. Like, honestly, I've been doing this now. I mean, we've known each other for a long time. It's been a decade of learning on this sort of thing. I'm still learning. We had lunch at Trio the other day where I'm learning about what's going on in this sort of thing. Because now these tax abatements are in Blue Ash. You're talking to other areas in and
Columbia
around
Township.
City of Cincinnati. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is really key. So talk to somebody you know. I'm going to end this. We're going to go back to our quiz real quick.
Oh,
just because I know we've really hit the nail on the head with all of this stuff, but USGBC, what was that?
U.S. Green Building Council.
All right, HERS.
Home Energy Rating System.
LEED.
Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design.
MPH. Those are my initials. That was good. That's totally off. I think that's all of them. Do we hit any other ones?
Oh, there's always more, but I will actually throw that Living Building Challenge.
Yes, we said we were going to end with that. Yes.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
So I do like that, and we actually just had a really cool, one of my employees actually recently just took on another position with doing nothing else but Living Building Challenge stuff, and it's all over the world. There's only like about 400 or 500 of these projects worldwide, but the theory is, and this is where we're going. This is why that's why when you go to a car show, you go look at the crazy thing that's coming in a year or two, right?
Yeah. You always like the concept cars, the cool stuff.
That's what this does. So pretty simple. It is really just net zero everything. It's really where buildings are going to be. If we kind of look forward, you're going to really see that buildings aren't supposed to be a drain on energy and on resources. It actually can be the regeneration.
Yeah, it can elevate a little bit.
So Living Building Challenge, you actually have to be 110%. So it's less than zero, actually. It actually generate more energy than it uses.
Truly giving back,
right,
as far as that goes.
So you drop the use, and then you put solar or wind or something on there, right, to bring it back. And then you've got batteries, that kind of stuff that then takes care of your cars and all that. Cool thing is we actually have a local person who's an expert in water. She's going to be doing the water piece where it's net zero water. That means just the little area that around she's got a little creek that's going to go in. That's going to filter water, and she's going to use it to do like flush toilets and things like that.
So it's not, you're not just talking about energy. You're talking about water, just anything that can come to you. Yeah.
Indoor air quality, perfectly filtered air on a constant basis.
Wow.
Really cool stuff.
It's like Martian type stuff over here.
And even a red list for hazardous materials that are in all our kind of crazy furniture and paints and all this stuff that you can't have in any product.
Wow.
And talk about things I think about when I had kids.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, oh man, I was fine putting anything in my system right before that, but once I had the kids, I'm like, oh, I probably should.
Start to rethink all this kind of stuff because it's not just about us or you anymore. And obviously, it's probably like anything when it's new. It's probably pretty expensive and difficult to do in certain ways. You know, it's like the Tesla roof tiles. I can't talk about how many times. Like there's so many different crazy things that are out there. Unfortunately, until it gets to the point where it's actually efficient enough to create on a little bit larger of a scale to make happen, it can be a little bit difficult. But I appreciate you taking the time. Anything else? Now, I will say, as you get started, reach out to Paul and his team because I think you are a great resource when people first get started. Obviously, you don't typically come in until after maybe somebody's selected a builder a lot of times because then they hire you. But there's a reason for people to reach out to you earlier on, isn't there?
I'm a big fan. If you're going to be building a new home, first of all, if you're not sure who has the experience out there and you want to get that, we do give recommendations.
Sure.
My builders all know this. I tell them ahead of time. We have a green list and a black list. You know, they want to be on the green list. And no, we really do try to fit things that you say that you would want. I can tell you who would be a good match for you, at least a few builders, so you can go interview. And then in the rehab side, very similar. When anytime it's going to be homeowner driven, if you're that homeowner that you're going to be part of it, talk to us. Because right off that bat, we're going to be able to help you gauge in the right direction. And we've actually really been spending a lot more time. We kind of have two tiers. I'm going to let my GC handle all of it, but I want to make these key decisions. And then we've got some really, the passion that I have from some homeowners that really get involved into a lot of design choices and other things. We have a whole package where we'll do a full custom consulting all the way through the process directly with them.
Getting into the weeds of like
and it's
cool things that you can do that maybe wouldn't even know them being an option.
And it takes the pressure off your designers and when you're like, I want that, but I want it recycled and I want it sourced from local. And they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to find all that. Our team is awesome and they'll help find all that for them.
Yes, I like the way you put it. You're kind of like an interior designer for somebody that wants to come in and have all the nice stuff in the house, but you're the same way designer from a green perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
In many more ways than that. I know I'm kind of making that a little bit basic.
No, it works out.
All right, well, I appreciate this. So as you guys are getting kicked off, obviously we're gonna have Paul's contact information here. We're also gonna have a copy of this, that's basically the Cincinnati's new 2022 tax abatement program, which has changed quite a bit. Any projects that were permitted prior to 2022 should go into the 2021 and before should. I know that's the idea of what it was supposed to happen on that front. But if you're starting a project today, know that this is going to be in full effect. So or don't grab an old document or PDF from 2 years ago because it could throw you off. And then also as you get started, keep in mind that a lot of times it revolves around the opportunity. What do you find out there? So we know you may find an awesome builder that you love, but also ultimately it's about what's out there, what's available, that sort of thing. So just keep that in mind. It's really hard to find great opportunities in the city of Cincinnati, but they're there. You just got to know where to look, which rocks to uncover, who to talk to on that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
So that's why we're all here. So hey, Paul, thank you so much for all the time. I appreciate it. Guys, thanks for spending. I know this was one of our longer videos, but we really wanted to get deep. This is the start of a fresh year, and we appreciate you all spending time with us. Take care.
Thanks.